All right, guys, this is Coach Eric. Welcome. I just wanted to come to you guys, Warrior Kids Martial Arts Academy, Warrior Martial Arts here in Madisonville, Kentucky. I'm here with Miss Ann Elkins, trusted friend, longtime principal for my children directly, and just glad to have her I'm bringing an interview to talk to her a little bit about how to help your kids and how to get back on track with school, kind of hopefully coming back to some normalities, what we've been going through and all that stuff. But without further ado, I just want to introduce Miss Elkins and let her tell you a little bit about herself and what her background is in the education industry.
Well, thank you so much for having me this afternoon. I appreciate you calling me. I am Anna Elkins. I am the current Director of Human Resources for Hopkins County Schools. I have been in education for 23 years. And I started as a preschool teacher and taught kindergarten and first grade and fourth grade and all subject areas. And then I transitioned into what we call a curriculum coordinator. And so I worked with teachers in their classrooms on instructional practices, behavior strategies, all those kinds of things. And then I went on to be principal at Grapevine Elementary and was there for 5 years. Loved my time at Grapevine, which is how we met.
Right.
And it was just a great time. And then I have been with board office for 3 years now. So that's kind of my journey in education. So
You've been around 3 years?
Huh?
You've been gone from Grapevine 3 years.
I have been, yeah.
Wow. It didn't seem like that, but okay. I was like, that's a long time. That's a lot longer than I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my kids are nearly grown, so you saw all of them come up except Miss Maddie. My oldest is the only one you missed.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. You were a fantastic principal. We missed you there.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. It was great. I had great parents, great kids.
Good. Well, we got, a few questions we want to kind of come up with. Some of the questions that I'm going to try to start doing some of these interviews with some local education, different types of subjects, but different types of capacities in education locally. And just, I thought of you first, and some of the things I wanted to ask you guys are some of the tips and tricks that you guys as a educator know that some of these kids might be better suited to during this e-learning, because we're sort of coming to the end of e-learning. I think I don't think it's going to completely stop real soon, but close.
Yeah.
But anyway, like some of the things they can do, because I know some of the kids are having some issues. Our camp, we help the kids get online. We get them in their Zoom meetings. We do all of that work for them and see to it that they get their work done. Now, we don't do it for them, of course. That wouldn't be fair. But we do help them get it done. And we see the problems that you guys are, for lack of a better word, creating, not on purpose, though. The problems on the other end from the parents' perspective, or my team and my staff, we try to make sure these kids get going. But is there any tips that we can do better from your side?
Gotcha. So one of the biggest things, and first and foremost, besides being an educator, I'm a mom too.
Right.
And so my oldest is a freshman in college. So he finished his year in pandemic school last year, and pandemic graduation and all that stuff. My youngest is a freshman in high school. So first and foremost, I'm a mom. And I will tell you, it's hard. And I am a teacher by trade. There hasn't been anything about this that has been easy on our kids or our teachers. The learning curve has been steep for everybody involved. But I think one of the biggest things that I have found that has made such a difference for us on e-learning time is having, first of all, a dedicated workspace. That is like number one. And the biggest thing I can say is don't let your kids just do their work wherever. Make sure that they have that dedicated spot to do it. And they know that it's just like eating dinner at the kitchen table. This is your spot to do your work. When they're in school and they're in classes all day, they have a desk, they have their supplies right there. They have all that. And they need that same kind of scenario when they're on e-learning at home. And another thing that we did too is, and I like that our schools do this, is the week at a glance. So as a parent, I can look at that and say, okay, here's what you've got this week. This is what we're looking at this week. You've got a test on Thursday. You've got a vocab quiz on Wednesday. You've got whatever it is. You have a project due. And it's, we've encountered partner projects this trimester. which has been a whole new ball game on the
That's a nightmare.
on the e-learning platform. It has just been completely, it's been a challenge, but he's loved it. We've gotten through them. But we take that week at a glance and we break it apart, and we make, okay, on Monday, here's what we got to do. On Tuesday, here's what you've got to do. On Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, here's when your Zoom meetings are in. And my child, I love him. He is the best kid, and his ADHD is the day is long. And so he needs that schedule. He needs to be able to look to see what I have to do and when I have to do it. So for us, on the e-learning platform, that has been the biggest help for us. And going in and out of hybrid to e-learning and hybrid and to virtual and all of that, just having that same schedule, that same routine all the time, a dedicated space. He knows he's going to sit at his desk and he's going to do his work and he's going to do those things. And I think, we work full time. We have a daily schedule. I go into my office every day and I have my list of things that I know I have to get done, and I can check that off my list. And it's the same thing for our kids. We need to be able to provide them with that structure, because when they're in school, they have that. You have that tone that's going to ring, that's going to say, okay, math is ending. It's time to go to English. It's the same thing when they're home. And as parents, we have to just remember, yes, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming for them. What can I do as the parent to help get them organized enough to get this done?
Right. And it's, if they're under 11th grade, I would say that it's tough on them to self-regulate their time.
Yes.
11th grade and on up probably can start figuring it out. They're a little more mature. A lot of them have jobs at that timeline. They can start prioritizing what they do.
Right.
Under that age line, it's just tough to, to stick to a schedule on your own.
Right. But that, getting that schedule and that dedicated spot probably are my top two biggest tips for when they are in that virtual platform, because it's what's going to help keep them focused and on track to get their work done timely and within that confines of whatever the school structure has set.
That's very good tips. Because what's funny is I do that myself. When you brought those tips up, that's what I do. Absolutely. But I'm an entrepreneur and business owner. But I had to learn how to do that on my own. No one taught me.
Right. You don't. There's no special trick to teach that. But that kind of leads to the next thing I would say too, is just take a minute to take a break. Yes. Take those breaks, because if you're sitting at your desk all day at work and you're working and you're at some point you have to put your pen down and say, okay, I just need a minute. Your kids are no different. I set a timer to get up, because if I don't, I won't. Yeah. And you think, okay, so if I'm dealing with an older child who's maybe upper middle and in high school, they can sit and work for a longer period of time. But after about 45 minutes, 50 minutes, they need to get up. They need to move around a minute, kind of regroup themselves. Exactly. And come back. If they're younger, kindergarten through early, middle school, often. It's a lot more often. So you can, 30 minutes or so, and for some it's even less. Yeah, well, we have similar careers models that we come up in. I mean, we do summer camp and after school programs, and we do a lot of this for the kids and for the moms and dads. We set up the timelines. We know when their Zoom meetings are. We use dry erase boards, and we have 30 kids that we're scheduling all this stuff on. And my team is doing basically what moms and dads do. We do it for them. So this is going to help our team too, to take that to another level, because that's what we're always trying to do, is trying to make things smoother, better for everyone that we work with. And it's fun. I mean, it's fun and challenging. Challenging is fun and fun is challenging. So that's the way I like to see it anyway. But now moving forward, the taking of the breaks is actually underrated. Very underrated, because I mean, I ADHD, hyperactivity, those types of things. If a kid doesn't get up and move, I don't get up and move, my work is suffering. Yes. I don't do as well. I have to take breaks and get up and just walk out of my office for a minute and just just step away from my desk and the pile of stuff I have going
Mm-hmm.
on, and I'm
See
45
something different.
years old. These are kids,
Yeah.
and they need that break too. They need to be able to just step away for a minute. It helps them kind of get some clarity back, gets their blood moving again, gets them focused again, to when they sit back down, they're ready to do something.
Let me, from my experience, from what we've dealt with doing this, as we lean more physical than we do mental, because that's just the nature of who we are: martial arts, gymnastics, dodgeball, soccer, all the fun stuff that we do, more physically active. What we noticed is the kids tend to do better and behave better throughout the day if we try to get them up about every 20 to 30 minutes and move for a good 15 minutes and have some fun, and then they come back and get right back to it. And
Right.
they actually have a better attitude. They're less stressed out. They burned off some energy. That's just our experience.
That's right. And I would say that's highly accurate. You get up, the minute you get up, your blood circulates faster. Get your brain active and moving again. It's very easy to become stagnant when you're in a seat.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's why you will see in classrooms, they'll take brain breaks, and they'll do brain pop videos, and they'll get up and sing and dance, or they'll do, and that's why, because those kids need the movement, and they need to get it back together enough that they can sit down and focus on the next chunk of work.
That's great. So it's good that we're on the same page. I love that. So that's fantastic. Well, the next question would be, because we're gradually moving towards a degree of normality again. We moved into the 2-day-a-week hybrid, and we're about to move into a 4-day-a-week hybrid system. And just kind of some tips on the transition and what to expect whenever these kids go back to school a little more than they're used to now. Because, it's been almost a year since they've been to school, for any length of time.
Yeah. Our kids left the classroom on Friday, March 13th, of 2020, and we never, ever dreamed it would be what it is today February 15th, 2021. We never dreamed when we left on that Friday that this would be where we are almost a year later.
That's crazy.
I'm excited that our kids are moving back to 4 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
I know for my child, he needs the socialization. He needs to sit in a classroom. He needs to experience that normalcy. And I feel like if that's my kid, that's probably 90% of our kids. They just need that normalcy in their life. The great thing about this transition back into 4 days is that it's not going to look a whole lot different from their hybrid days in terms of what they are experiencing right now, except you're going to have all of your kids there, as opposed to, A through K and L through Z. Everybody is going to be together.
So the classroom is going to be more full again.
Yes, the classrooms will be full. So you can expect to see things like, those reminders, those frequent reminders of washing your hands and keeping your mask on and those kinds of things. I know a lot of our schools have instituted new traffic patterns through their buildings to just help cut down on, hallway congestion and that sort of thing. So I think our schools and our teachers are doing everything that they can do to keep our kids safe.
Right.
Protected while they're there. And we want to be sure, that our parents just remember to be sure that those kids come prepared every day with, their hand sanitizers and their mask, and, that they're there and they're ready. But as far as learning, I think for our kids, it's going to be so great for them to get back to some more of a cohesive model of learning.
Yeah.
Instead of having to get your brain from I'm in person today and tomorrow, and then I'm off, and then I'm online the rest of the week, or I'm starting my week online and then I'm going in person, they're going to be in that normal routine again, sitting in the classroom, and I think probably one of the things that'll be the hardest for our kids is remembering to just ask questions, because they're going to have a live body right in front of them now. Yeah. And not on a computer screen, and, in virtual.
No delay.
And
no internet delay.
Yeah. So I think for our kids, that's a good thing. And just remembering what that experience is like when you're in school every day, and you can just ask questions and physically be a part of the lesson and the instruction. And I think that's going to be huge for our kids.
To that, you brought that up about being back into a normal routine. I mean, across the board, I mean, like I always bring back to with what we do with the after school services, and we've been running camps since this all started. So
Right.
a lot of parents didn't have the luxury of being able to stay at home.
Mm-hmm.
So they just had to go to work. So we opted to do full day camps. We've basically been in summer camp mode with education involved all year.
Yes.
And one of the things that, the hybrid threw at us when we went back to 2 days a week was a logistical nightmare between us, the parents themselves, you guys at school, the pickups from school. And it's because we've still been in camp mode. We have half the kids at our camp, half the kids are at school, all week. So, but not to mention that, but I mean, just the parents themselves getting back into a 4-day-a-week habit.
Yes. Yeah. And, I talked earlier about the importance of a schedule. This is going to be equally as important.
Yeah.
Now,
for moms and dads.
For everybody, I have to remind myself on hybrid days, I need to leave my house 15 minutes earlier than I would when I'm going to work.
Because walking from the bedroom to your office is, not that much of a commute.
Right, that's right. So now, my kid has to get out of bed and go sit in a chair.
Especially with the way it is outside right now, it's a little bit of a commute.
Right.
That's the thing I was looking at is like, because the kids too, the social construct of not just their friends at school, which that's a big part of life, but the actual learning demographic of being in front of an actual teacher.
Yes.
I do jujitsu, I do martial arts, and I can learn a few things from video, but I don't know it from video.
Right.
I see an instructor and I touch and I feel and I do the move, I get it.
That's
so it's the same way with education.
That's right. We are I'm a very visual learner. I have to see it. I have to, I have to hear it. I have to watch somebody do it. I have to, so for me, I don't know. I've taken a lot of college courses in the virtual setting.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle. It's a struggle.
See, I'm kinetic.
I can't focus.
Yeah, I'm a very kinetic person. I have to do it.
Yeah. And you've got to be there. You've got to see it. And that's what I'm excited for our kids, is because they're going to get that piece of education back. They're going to get that teacher in front of them 4 days a week. And I think
that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it will be. And I think for them, I think it will help bump our kids up, especially those that have struggled with getting assignments completed and have kind of fallen into that apathetic mode because they haven't had to be at school. I think this will be a great thing for them, and just stepping up their game instructionally, having that teacher there who gives them the reminders, because I can remind my kid all day long.
Right.
But, if you were the one reminding my kid, it'd be like, oh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we get that in the martial arts all the time. Well, Coach Kanan or Coach Eric said this.
Yeah.
For the parents, they remember what we tell them, and you guys have said, I've said that to you a million times.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'll tell parents, your kids are always better behaved for me than they are for you.
Yes. And vice versa.
It's still true. It's still true even in this setting. It's still true. And so I'm hoping when those kids get the experience of being in front of their teacher and with their friends, and they get that sense of normalcy about their routines again, I think that will be I think we will see just exactly how resilient our kids are.
Yeah.
And have been throughout this whole.
And that'll be the proud moment for myself to see. That's something I want to see happen for my kids as well as our clients as they come to our program.
Yes,
but that kind of leads us into the next problem. This question next is not really as relevant as we're moving back into 4 days a week, but they've had a tremendous amount of downtime, like not boredom time, like not really anything to fill in except video games, or, if they're lucky enough to come to camp and play games all day, that's fine. But, what can a kid do better, to make use of that extra time that will help them with their education or their attitude towards education?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I know that has helped my kid, because like I said, school has not ever really been easy for him. He's a struggling reader, struggle with focus. And so for him, having some kind of outside hobby, something to fill some of that time with, he would go out. He's a soccer player, and he would go out and kick the soccer ball around, or, practice in the yard, or run. He'd go run a mile or two, things to kind of fill some of that downtime that was not technology.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing is I would have to say, I need you to put your phone down. I need you to get off the video game. I need you to go outside for a little bit. And I think as parents, that's something we really, really need to be aware of. Because our kids do get bored sometimes. And the first thing that they've done always historically in the past is go straight to technology.
Yeah.
Because that's, they're playing a video game.
It's easy.
It's easy. It's convenient. It's certainly accessible to everybody.
It's a dopamine drop too. I mean, these things do it for us as well. I mean,
absolutely.
They say the average person checks their phone like 72 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably do it more than that as a business owner.
Yep, absolutely. Because you're checking messages and emails and whatever, or I'll take 5 minutes and I'll scroll through Facebook real quick.
And 2 hours later.
2 hours later, I'm back doing my job. But, our kids, it's the same thing. And I think to help combat that boredom, I think we have to take a minute to tell our kids, okay, I need you to put the technology down. I need you to pick up a book. I need you to go outside and play. I need you to go run. I need you to go exercise. Start an exercise program. There are some great ones online and YouTube and different things that when they're home that they can do to help combat the boredom. I think the biggest thing is to get that technology break in there because they're spending so much time right now online in some kind of a virtual setting. In a Zoom meeting or in Google Classroom completing their classwork and that sort of thing. And so when they take that break from that, they don't need to break that boredom and that time up with more technology.
Right.
I think they need to get out and just breathe some fresh air and help break that cycle of boredom. And it also helps promote mental clarity and just it helps combat just some depression.
Yeah.
Just lots of things, our kids are living and I said this earlier, I hate hearing that term unprecedented time, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. And I think for our kids, we have to try to instill as much normalcy and just guidance for them. I mean, we struggle as adults with those things. Yeah. We have to take our breaks. We get bored. I have to remind myself when I'm just sitting there mindlessly scrolling Facebook, no, stop, get up and go do something worthwhile that's going to make your brain work.
Well, to add to that, during the official shutdowns where we couldn't do anything for a while, mm-hmm. I am the kind of person personally, I cannot just not do something. Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, I'm just like, and I couldn't go train. I couldn't do my work. I couldn't do business. So I picked up a hobby. I learned how to do leather craft. Mm-hmm. I started like, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go buy some leather. I'll order some off of Amazon and get some tools. And I learned a hobby and I got into it. It's like, and it helped combat that because I know I'm not a very down person, mm-hmm. but I think that I could have been if I had been longer in that scenario. Right. If I would have been drawn out further to not be able to socialize, because I'm a very social person. I'm a very, I'm out and about, and I wasn't able to do so. And if I think that could have went too much longer, someone like myself that's highly motivated, highly, energetic, would have slipped into a depression of sorts.
That's right.
And I didn't know. I got my energy refocused, and I put some energy elsewhere. I noticed that with my children. I started getting them to do stuff, but
absolutely. And
we traded off, I think, real quick, we traded off worrying about a disease that could kill for a mental condition that could kill. Yeah. And we had this that bothered me during this timeline because I was worried about the mental health as much as I was the physical health.
That's right. And that's something, when your kids are older, sometimes they can communicate that. When they're younger, they can't quite communicate what they're feeling and how they feel and how they're internalizing the things that are happening around them, the changes they're experiencing or whatever. And so I think that it's very important for us as parents, for you all at the dojo, when you're working with kids and that sort of thing, that we are really know our kids. Yeah. And we're watching for those things so that we can, we're picking up on all those little things that are happening in their life. Even when we feel like, oh, well, they're in our four walls and they're protected. Yeah, they are, but
physically,
at what cost? Exactly. And so, we put the dogs in the truck and go, and just drive,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, just to kind of give them a minute. I think one of the things that we have lost the art of is just having a conversation and just talking to people. We spend all of our time texting or Snapchat or Insta or whatever social media platform you're using. And I think we've forgotten how to talk to our kids.
That's true. And I'm
And
guilty of that as
even
anybody
adults.
else.
I think we've forgotten even how to have a conversation with adults. And so I think if anything, this pandemic has taught me to slow down and be present and ask questions and just say, hey, how are you feeling? Tell me about your day.
That's
What
good.
have you done today? And I think a lot of times for our kids, even, if you're talking to them and they're talking to you, they don't realize they're bored, number one, and they tend to step back from that depressive side. I think they feel more engaged because it's very easy to kind of lose yourself in the confines of this world right now.
Well, as a parent myself, what you just brought up, my kids are a little bit older, in middle school and out of school and in between high schooler. I tend to go sometimes and not realize that they just need to talk.
Absolutely.
And I'm so focused on what I'm doing sometimes that I'm like, what do you want? And I don't mean to be that rude. It's just, I don't realize that they're bored. They're semi-depressed or semi-lonely and they need to speak to someone. And I don't tune in as well sometimes. And that's my fault. And you gave me a little tip there to work on. That's fantastic.
One thing I will encourage too, and I know some parents have been hesitant. I have heard that or read that, throughout, not just local, but just in things I've read throughout this pandemic. But when teachers are offering those Zoom times and that sort of thing, when they have their office hours, even if you don't have a lot of questions, jump in and have a conversation, because again, that's giving you the opportunity to just even chat with your teachers.
Especially those parents that are by themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a great idea.
I leave for work and my kid is here and he's doing, predominantly on his own, and so I will send text reminders to him. Don't forget you have a Zoom with, Miss Franklin, and don't forget you've got Coach Hopkins Zoom at this time, because even if he doesn't have questions, I want him to be active in that. I want him to participate in that. And it just helps keep that social, emotional side filled.
That's good.
We need that in our lives as adults, but our kids need that too in a big way.
Yep, that's fantastic. Well, the last question I guess I have is, this has been amazing so far, but I mean, I can only imagine what you're going to say on this last question is like, what can we expect moving forward once we get through summer and we get back to fall 2021? What are we expecting? From your experience, your expertise, what you're hearing through the grapevine, the potential expectations. We can't carve anything in stone. We know that now. From March 13th of last year, we know nothing's in stone. So what can we expect to see the climate change, so to speak? How is it going to be different, or is it going to be better? How is it going to be better? How's it going to be challenging?
Well, I think our teachers and our staff have worked really, really hard during this time, and it's taken a lot of adjustments and a lot of starts and stops and restarts and rethinking plans and how we teach and how we're reaching our kids and our families. And, I'm so proud of our school system and the things that they have done to reach our families during this time. Providing hotspots for those that need them, for electronics and Chromebooks, and putting things in their hands, and meal deliveries. And I never dreamed we would be delivering meals by school buses, around the county, but that's what we're doing, because those are things that are important to make sure. So as we move forward, I'm hoping we get into this 4-day pattern, that we will be able to eventually increase and get back into that normal 5-day. I think largely it's going to depend on, of course, how our guidelines are coming down to us from the top down, from the state level down. down to us. But I think when we can get rolling in this 4-day, I think we will be on our way to seeing that become our norm. I think we will get through that through the end of the year. And we always say we begin with the end in mind, and so as we end this school year, we'll be looking ahead to how we start. We knew when we finished our school year online in May that there was probably a 98% chance we were going to start that same way in August.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel that will likely be the pattern that we move into. Don't quote me on that, but I kind of feel that that's what we'll see moving forward. And at least trying to keep our kids in that normal rhythm of school.
So to that, what do you see that has come by way of this pandemic through school systems that you don't think is going to change? That actually is that's better than it was prior? Because I know every problem has always got some rainbows in there that are like, wow, we never thought of that, but this made this better.
Yeah,
what are some tips? What are some things that you're going to see in school that's better because of COVID?
I think just the general ability to be shapeshifters, basically, like literally at the drop of a hat. Our teachers have become so good at taking whatever we throw at them and making it happen.
Yeah.
So I don't foresee anything that, that we're going to throw at our teachers that they're going to back away from. And I think that's probably been one of the biggest things that has been so great that has come out of this is that camaraderie it has built amongst our Team Hopkins family, our staff. And then they're communicating that back out to families. And I think that communication has stepped up and has improved immensely across all areas because we've had to. It had to happen this way because it's had to look different. So I think that's probably some of the best things. I think we have taken technology and just those things that we've been able to put in kids' hands and families' hands, things we never dreamed we would be doing, getting hotspots set up all over town, working with local businesses and partnering with those. I think that has been such a tremendous thing for our county, for our schools, for our teachers, for our kids, to see everybody come together in the way that they have to make sure our kids have what they need.
Yeah.
To be successful.
January 2020, you never heard of the word Zoom in your life.
Listen, it's so funny. I had several online classes in Zoom platform prior to COVID.
Yeah, but it wasn't Zoom though. I mean, it wasn't.
It wasn't. Now it's like it's nothing for me to have 4 or 5 hours of Zoom meetings a day.
You were bougie if you had a bunch of Zoom stuff going on prior to COVID. You're like, oh, you're uptown. You do it.
Yeah, and now I'm like, oh, I have a Zoom meeting.
Well, of course you do. You're like 8 today, right?
Yeah. I have been back to back today, so
that's good. Well, that's kind of what I was looking at. There's some things that come out of our situations that have improved because of the situation. Like you said, we learned as educators ourselves in certain ways that we get to pivot very quickly.
Yes.
We pivoted from being in person, have to have hands-on, to realize that we can actually interact and communicate with Zoom, through Facebook, through social media, and still get a similar feel to our program. But it's not the same, but it's next best thing.
Right.
We allowed that. It's like tonight, just because here's the fun part. Like we're open. We're allowed to be open. Our business is open. We have martial arts classes going on regularly. But because it's snowing outside and it's dangerous, my team is doing video recordings and we're doing classes online tonight. Because of this, I've allowed my team that overcome that fear of the camera, overcome the fear of like a change. And what's happened with you guys. You guys have realized how much tougher you really are than you thought you were.
Yeah, that's right. Resilience across the board. And I think our people have just, they think outside the box, and they have just, that's the one great thing at Team Hopkins. They have come together, and if there has been an issue, somebody's been like, hey, what about this? Let's try this. And they've been able to fix it. Or at
creativity has been off the charts.
Yes, it has been. And I salute all of our teachers, our administrators. They've done a phenomenal job, and all of the parents that have just hung with us and kept their kids involved and participating in whatever realm that they could
Yeah.
participate in, if it was sports or, whatever it was, academic teams, those kids have been getting that little taste of some normal life. And I think that's been so great for our kids and
It's
our teachers
fantastic.
too.
This has been a great interview. I mean, I don't want to take up, your whole day, but one, we're friends and I like speaking with you as much as possible. But, this has been really informative for myself, not just for me to share with our community here. I'm going to share it in our Facebook groups, and I'm going to share it on our Facebook pages. And hopefully you guys can, bounce this out to everybody around, because this is stuff everybody needs, not just my clients. This is the blessing that you give us, by taking a moment and talking to us. Because I think the stuff that you posted, or in this interview, are going to help people just kind of get through some of the stress that they're putting on themselves over this, because a lot of this is self-inflicted.
Right.
It's beyond our control with the circumstances, for sure. Like what we've been thrust into for this last year has been ridiculous and beyond our control. But as we're in that, the way we deal with it has been on ourselves, and permission to tell your kid, take a break.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, to just learn how to just for a second, and it's okay.
We all need it. We all need it.
Yeah.
And, I remember back early on, Dr. Ashby telling us, you all take a minute. You're going to burn yourselves out, and we got to be ready for the long haul. And she was absolutely spot on.
And I don't think people get it. The difference is because myself included, I mean, you guys don't have to physically go to work every day for the last year as much as you have been. It's a lot less. Well, you get used to being at home. You get used to not having all of that physical involvement. And the burnout is different because your body is it's not as in shape as it was. Because believe it or not, just getting up going to work, that burns quite a few calories. And it's something that's going to help your mood to go do this. But when all you got to do is walk from the bedroom to your office.
Yeah.
And you get to work. That sounds great unless you have that ability, like that doctor told you, to take that break.
Right. And I was so glad, from March 16th through the end of the school year. And then, of course, our teachers had the summer, they weren't in our buildings. And, we were basically, for the most part, everybody was working from home as much as they could and that sort of thing, trying to keep numbers down and all of that. But when school started in August, everybody was back in their buildings. Every teacher was back in their classroom. They taught from their classroom. They, anytime we've been on a virtual, they have been in the buildings working and teaching.
Good.
And I think that has just been so great for our people, because they're with their people, they're with their stuff, they're with their familiar,
their team,
their team, their people, they're
just missing one element. They were missing the children, not the teammates.
Right. And even
that's
though
good.
we're having to reach their kids through a virtual platform or in small group instruction on Wednesdays or that sort of thing, they had a purpose. I'm getting up, I'm going to work today, and I'm going to teach my kids today. And they would get up and they would bring it, regardless. Recording, I have watched some of my son's videos that his teachers have done, and they have been incredible.
Yeah.
Thought processes, the way they present the content, I have just been so impressed. And then I look back and think, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do that now. It's been a minute.
That's the thing. Is like, as the owner of my business, I do the same thing. I look at my team and go, wow, you guys are actually rock stars. I don't think I could do it any better than you guys did it.
I think we can't shout out enough how hard our teachers are working, how hard our kids are working, and how hard our parents are working. I just think we need to celebrate them and keep them pumped up and motivated. We've still got a long haul till May.
Yep.
The weather's not going to help us out this week much at all. But I am excited to see our kids back in our schools next week. I know our teachers are over the moon excited to see them back next week.
I am too. I'm glad to see it change too. And I'm sure that the teachers are really going to enjoy, hopefully, a much more free summer this summer. It actually has a summer worth having.
Yeah.
So then they come back prepared at the beginning of the school year. That's gonna. Well, that's a little funny too. I got one over there too. That happened. I don't want to keep you all day. We are a little over time, so I wanted to say thank you for this, and I'm going to share this out. And thanks. It's just awesome.
Well, thank you.
So I'm going to go ahead and call it a day, and we'll see you real soon. I'm going to hit. Of course, I'm going to stop record, and then we'll chat for a second. But you guys that are on the line watching this, wow! If you guys don't get anything out of this, you wasn't listening. So. Just thank you very much, Miss Elkins, and hopefully see you guys soon again and come in and chat with us soon about some other, hopefully more uplifting topics than boredom and all that stuff, but hopefully more uplifting things. But anyway,
absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate your time tremendously.
Thank you.
You're welcome.